Why do we get into relationships with this one person? Why do we invest so much of our time, so much of our lives with this one person? When I was 20 years old, I remember I was single. I was floating through life. I was very happy. I had gotten my first paycheck. I was spending that money. Life was good. And then I met a girl. And then I was taken over in a nice way. I was obsessed in a nice way. We've all experienced that. We've all bumped into this one person who suddenly takes over so much of our life that our priorities shift a bit. You know, maybe earlier there was work, friends, family, and then this new person comes from out of nowhere who we have just met, and then everything shifts a little bit so they can go to number one spot. The beginning is so intoxicating. We we spend so much time talking to this person. We spend so much time thinking about this person. We find them incredibly attractive, so sexy. We find them so nice. What is so special about this one person? There are so many eligible, available people around us, but why do we hyper focus on this one person? Terry, my teacher, calls it the mysticism of relationships, the mysticism of marriage. There is there is a certain familiarity about this person. There is something about this person that makes us, in a strange way, very safe. We feel very safe around this person. We start sharing things with them that we haven't shared with anyone else. And this goes beyond attraction. Terry says that that familiarity that we feel is actually this person reminding us of the unfinished business of our parents that we have inherited. When we grow up, we learn so many lessons, we get so many qualities from our parents, but we also inherit flaws from them. We've seen them fight, we've seen them fail at things, struggle with things, and we inherit them. We think that that's how the world is. And then we find this person who reminds us of those things. We're doing things, we're in our house, we're cooking our meal, we're playing a video game, we're watching our favorite show, and we are not triggered by anyone. And all these flaws that we have inherited stay dormant, stay hidden, but they surface only in our interaction with other people. They could surface at work, in our work relationships, with our friends, and even sometimes in our relationship with our parents. All these flaws surface. Terry uses the word relational. They surface when we are being relational in our lives, when we are being relational with other people, not by ourselves, but in relationship with other people. But there's one person who exposes these things like no one else. There's one person who we see so many flaws in and who triggers so much in us like no one else. And when we are past the beginning of the relationship, when we're past the intoxicating, beautiful phase of this relationship, we hit this other phase. I call it the middle, where we are faced with the human side of this person. There is, this person seemed so divine in the beginning. Everything was perfect about them. We would see them just 2 times a week and it would be fine. We would not complain. But now, if they're half an hour late, where were you? It makes us so angry. We get so upset. Where were you? Why didn't you call me? You know, we would see them 2 times a week earlier and we wouldn't care who else they spoke to. But now, if we see them speaking to someone for 10 minutes, we get jealous beyond imagination. We get so jealous. We get so triggered. And we get triggered by also little things like, why can't you clean up after yourself? Or why didn't you take a shower? And could you just go and take a shower? Or could you eat with your mouth closed? Like it triggers us so much. It's fascinating how little things about this person start triggering us so deeply. So we go through this middle phase and we try our best. Both of us try our best to navigate skillfully through this. Maybe, we fight a lot, but also we try to go on holidays or we try to take breaks. We have moments of peace. Uh, Sometimes we seek therapy. Sometimes we try to engage in a more peaceful dialogue. We try to bring in strategies we have learned at work with this dynamics to try to resolve this. But at some point, almost all of us are faced with the relationship reckoning. We are faced with the ultimate test. It's like, in a video game, if any of you have played a video game, you encounter all these monsters that you defeat, but then you encounter a bigger monster. It's like a boss fight. And the issue that we encounter in that moment is bigger than any other issue we've encountered before in the relationship. Maybe they want to move to a town that we don't. Maybe we want children, but they don't want children. And the first time you face that, it's a bit strange. You can't believe it. And you think you can talk through it just like every other fight. So you talk peacefully about it. Maybe you try to convince each other about it. You know, like you start looking up job postings in that other city that you think your partner would like, and you start sending it to them. Sneakily, you start marketing your idea for this new future to them. But then, it doesn't quite work. And the frustration starts to build, and you try different things to convince them, and it doesn't work. You argue. And then, these arguments get more and more intense, and you get into big fights about it. When you don't talk about it, you can't feel a connection with them. And when you do talk about it, all you do is fight about it. And you spend so much energy and you exhaust yourself, both of you, in trying to find a way through. It's so upsetting because how can this person who you trusted so much get in the way of what you want, what you deeply, deeply want? It's almost like a purpose of your life. And this person is in the way, the one person who you think you could count on. It's such a paradox. And what follows after this intense reckoning is almost like a loneliness. You are faced with the idea that you have a choice to make. The decision is yours to make. And all this convincing and all this marketing that you're trying to do and arguing, the illusion of this control gets lifted. You realize that you have very little control over this person and that you have a choice to make. And the choice is, well, you could either surrender to this new possible fate where you won't get what you want. You won't stay in the city that you always wanted to stay in. You may not end up having children like the way you wanted. You are faced with a sense of deep loss on your own. And what follows loss is a sense of grief. And you have to navigate this grief. And your partner also navigates this grief because they may also not get what they wanted. And if you can grieve together, partners who can grieve together support each other through this really painful, almost seemingly endless grief, end up crossing that bridge of grief and go to the other side into a new land. It's a new land. It's a new future which neither of you exactly envisioned. And if you can find a sense of peace in this new future, you find a sense of cherishing for each other. Many people, many partners are lucky to find this new cherishing for each other, this new unbound joy and gratitude for each other. And the other choice is not surrendering. You realize that what you really want is something much bigger than being with this person right now. And you choose to separate. You both choose to go your separate ways. There is no right or wrong about it. You go your separate ways, and then you still end up grieving, but you grieve separately now. You grieve the potential that you had in this relationship. You grieve the loss of this person. You grieve the loss of this relationship. You miss this person, and there's no one to comfort you now. And, grief, in a way, is like a pest. It's like a cockroach. It finds you. You try to avoid it, but it finds you, and you grieve through it as you stay single, as you are on your own. And then you find your own solidity and your own clarity and your own sense of purpose in your life and your own sense of peace through this grief. And then what do you do next? You find someone else. You bump into someone else who gives meaning to your life again, who is intoxicating again to you. And you think that you're committing this time to unbound joy and unbound happiness. And you think that this time it will be different. Whereas you don't realize that you're secretly also signing up for that same grief and sorrow. All of us who manage to find these deep, deep relationships where we commit so much of our time and our lives to, we will end up experiencing the entire spectrum of feelings: incredible joy, incredible happiness, profound gratitude. But we will also experience these deafening loneliness, this profound grief, and a sense of loss that nobody else can give us. There's a guy named Khalil Gibran who wrote this book called The Prophet in 1923. And I'm going to read a little passage from this book. It's about joy and sorrow. Sorrow is another word for grief. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is now giving you joy. They are inseparable. Together they come. And when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other one is asleep upon your bed. Thank you. So if you and your partner find yourself stuck in the middle or facing the ultimate test of your relationship and are not quite sure how to navigate it, book a free 30 minutes call with me. In those 30 minutes, I will help you merge your opposing perspectives for the first time, and you'll walk away with a shared sense of understanding and hope for success. The link is in the description.